Hi, friends. Today we're going to talk about chemical sweeteners, and I have brought one of my friends with me, Coke Zero. I love you, Coke Zero, and I don't care who knows because it's fabulous. But I also know that Coke Zero is not good for me. So I want to talk today about chemical sweeteners, specifically in relation to the thyroid and why they're a problem. Now, chemical sweeteners are chemically made. So it's any type of sweetener that's made in a lab. And they were first discovered in the 1960s. There was a chemist who was working in a lab to create an ulcer medication, a drug for ulcers. And he spilled the solution. As the story goes, he spilled the solution. He went home and later was eating or something and licked his fingers, and they were so sweet. And when he returned to the lab, he discovered that this product that he had created was super duper sweet and could be used as a sugar substitute. So chemical sweeteners are generally like hundreds of times sweeter than sugar, meaning they light up those sugar receptor sites on the tongue. They taste super sweet. You don't have to use as much as you would with sugar, which is cool from a production issue or a production standpoint. And then on top of that, they don't have any calories. So this is a big win when it comes to the diet industry because we can market it now as a weight loss food or for the keto diet because it's not going to raise your blood sugar. Now, research and science has discovered that yes, it doesn't raise your blood sugar in a marked way, but it can impact your glucose receptors and it can over time create issues with insulin and create further problems with diabetes. So I'm not a huge fan of chemical sweeteners. I'm not a fan at all. But there's several reasons for that. So I named first of it. The first reason I just named to you is that they're chemical. So they're not natural occurring. Our bodies are not used to them. They are termed an additive. And the government has put them on the generally recognized as safe list, which they call the GRAS. They've been on the GRAS list for decades. But here's the thing. Our government researches additives in very small amounts. So they say, okay, we tested a small amount of aspartame, which is a chemical sweetener, and it was fine. So I'm going to put that on the generally recognized as safe list. Now we're going to test some food colorings, small amount. They're fine. We'll put that on there. Now we'll test sucralose, Splenda, all these different chemical sweeteners. Now, one of my favorite statements about food additives, but specifically chemical sweetener additives, is this: the effect of additives is additive. So if you're having a little bit of sweetener with your coffee and then a little bit of sweetener with your oatmeal and a little bit of sweetener with your Diet Coke later in the day, those levels add up pretty quickly. And there's not a lot of research in terms of a lot of dosing of these generally recognized as safe items. So what we know is that our country is consuming a lot of regular soda, but also diet soda. And we also have a lot of gut problems and thyroid problems. So where do they connect? Great question. Chemical sweeteners, once they're ingested, they go through the digestive process. So specifically with aspartame, I'm going to ruin your world. If you love Coke Zero, I'm sorry. I'm going to ruin it. It is sweetened with aspartame. When aspartame gets in the gut, it breaks into phenylalanine, which is an amino acid, and eventually into formaldehyde. Now, we all know formaldehyde, it's used to preserve dead bodies. So, yes, we are drinking dead body preservatives when we drink our Coke Zero. So gross. And yet I still love it. So, that's something to think about when you're having a diet soda, is that it will break down in your body into those chemicals. And formaldehyde is a known carcinogen. It also will impact brain function. The problem with the chemical sweetener, though, is it decreases the ability of the thyroid to, number one, produce T4, but number two, to convert T4 to T3. That generally takes place in the liver. So it stops that conversion of T4 to T3, and that will cause the TSH number to rise. So if you have a high TSH and you drink a lot of chemical sweeteners, a lot of diet soda, Crystal Light, or you have, like the sugar-free coffee flavors, it's everywhere. If you're doing chemical sweeteners and you have a high TSH, it could be contributed to that. So that's something to look into. And remember, the high TSH means that your cells aren't getting the free T3. And that's where you will experience thyroid symptoms. So chemical sweeteners are not the best choice. They are attractive because they have no calories. They're attractive because they don't raise your blood sugar. But when you have thyroid conditions, or well, true of anyone with a thyroid, we do need carbohydrates to convert T4 to T3. So you do want to make sure you're having enough carbs, and those carbs are fine to have from whole food sweet sources. So if you're craving a sweet, it would be better to have a whole food source, something like an apple, a whole orange. You can even use some honey. Honey is a fine sweetener. I support a little bit of stevia. That one's easy to get crazy with. So go gentle on that. And also erythritol is another sweetener that I'm fine with doing small amounts, monk fruit as well. So if you need a sugar substitute that is no calorie, stevia in small amounts is a great choice. Xylitol for some people can cause a lot of digestive upset. It also can do some damage in the gut. So the last piece about chemical sweeteners I want to include is they do cause problems with gut bacteria, and they kill off the good bacteria and they let the bad bacteria go crazy. And when that happens, it also inhibits thyroid function, and it can also upregulate the immune system to attack the thyroid. So there's multiple reasons here why we should avoid chemical sweeteners. And I still have my Coke Zero, and I'll have a Coke Zero every now and again. It's fine. It's fine if you're not doing it consistently, but be aware if you are doing it consistently, it could be causing some of those things. So post your questions about chemical sweeteners below. Let me